I'm Jen Mall, and welcome to Nurse Connect. I am an RN and a board certified nurse coach. I believe that connecting with others is essential to living a happy and fulfilled life, and that sharing our stories not only helps us to heal ourselves, but also helps others by inspiring hope and optimism. I'm so grateful to share stories of these incredible nurses on their journey, and I encourage you to find a way to share yours too. Thanks for listening in. All right. Hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm Jen Mall, and I've got Jessica here with me. Would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself to get us started?
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Jessica Smith dos Santos. I retired from a 17-year nursing career to become a full-time health coach. I have been full-time coaching for about 5 years now. And what I love about what I do now is I feel like I'm more of a nurse than I ever was because I'm able to really truly partner with people and helping them get the outcomes that they're really looking to get. And so I help people in physical health and mental health and financial health. And the part of my business that I was not expecting to fall in love with, that I am head over heels for, is supporting new coaches in
Yes,
launching and scaling their own coaching businesses. I
beautiful.
love that mentorship piece of watching them embrace the obstacle as the way of learning, of growing, of having more self-awareness. And in so
Mm-hmm.
many ways, like that
Mm-hmm.
track is so parallel to like mentoring a brand new nurse or a new staff
Mm-hmm.
member. And I loved doing that when I was in nursing. So I guess it's no surprise that's one of the favorite parts of my job now, if you
Yeah.
will.
Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. I just love your energy around this. And, we've been connected on, online for several years. And even though geographically we lived semi-close for a little while, I'm super bummed we didn't connect in person. But you've always just been very open about your own journey, and welcoming and great about connecting with people. And so I know you're writing a book right now, so we'll get into that in a little bit. But you mentioned something earlier about how, as nurses, sometimes we feel like we don't matter, and maybe not intentionally, but like that that feeling that just as nurses we're like, well, we got to give it all to everybody else. And so I love your message about you matter as a nurse. So why don't you kind of share a little bit with me about how you came to this point of actually writing a book and getting this out into the world soon?
Yeah. So it's honestly full transparency. It started as like an all-out bitch fest. Like I just needed a place to dump
Yeah.
all of my feelings, and I was like, "Oh, this needs to be a book, right?" And
Yeah.
but as I'm like rereading what I wrote, like all 100 pages in the Google Doc, I was like,
Mhm.
"This is not of service to anybody."
Mm.
Like this was such like therapy for me,
Yeah. This
but
bleh.
turning like my emotional vomit on paper into a book is not in service. And
Mm.
what really prompted me to embrace like creating a book that would be in service of nurses was the realization that I did matter. And
Mm.
not that nursing intentionally told me that I didn't, but through the course of like, please come back for another shift. Like, we're short staffed. Like, please, we're begging you. Right. And then you feel guilty and you're like, okay, fine, I'll come back. Or, it's been a long day and you haven't had lunch and you're exhausted and you're starving, but there's another critical patient coming in and they're like, sorry about your lunch. Like, we love you. We'll have cookies in the break room later. Right. Like, while nursing tries to be supportive, like you do
Hmm.
not directly get the message that you matter. And I think over time, we can misinterpret the system to you don't matter because we
Right.
end up exhausted and burned out and we've given our all. And this book was really birthed from the pain of burnout, of the total
Hmm.
exhaustion, of the moral injury,
Hmm.
all of it. And I thought, I found my way out of that. And I found my way out of that through realizing that I matter and deciding that I didn't need to let my worth sit in the hands of my profession. That
Hmm.
was my job. And so learning, to flow through that like just total emotional wreckage of burnout
Yeah.
and into bouncing back and creating something new and really taking radical ownership, I thought every nurse needs this. Every single nurse, whether they're still in nursing school
Yep.
or they're suffering in the depths of their own burnout right now. Like
Hmm.
there are real stories that like connect to the
Mhm.
emotions of what we go
Mhm.
through. There are tangible tools that will empower nurses to like really not just feel like they have to suck it up and put the mask on, but truly like start thriving in their own existence. And so, I mean, that's really like the super cliff notes version of
Love
like
it.
where it started and where it is now. And I'm so excited to get this in the hands of nurses.
Absolutely. I've got chills because you hit so many elements of it, and we're drawn to nursing. Often we're natural caregivers, and and our intention is so good, and we have this desire to help other people, but it truly comes at the detriment to ourselves in a lot of cases. And so you hit on a lot of the things I'm sure many of us have struggled with, and is one of the reasons, frankly, I started this podcast because I know that we all have these beautiful stories of struggle and perseverance and beauty that comes out of that struggle. And you found a way to like actually give words to a lot of what many of us have struggled with. And that is really hard to do. Really hard to put our emotions and your feelings and your stories and your experiences on paper. Like, oh, that's exciting. I cannot wait to get my hands on it too, to read it.
I will say with full transparency, I hired a book coach who is also a therapeutic
Smart.
writing coach. So not only is she helping me like
Yeah.
get it into a format that will be of value, but
Yes.
through it, I'm healing. I
Wow.
am totally, I have goosebumps, right? There
Yeah.
were some stories that were on my heart to share that were still so like emotionally traumatic in my
Hmm.
being that like I would just completely stop writing because I was re-traumatizing myself. And
Wow.
I was like, that's not a value to me. I can't do that. Right. It's not like I matter and I have to
Yeah.
stop to,
Yeah.
help myself heal. And so it's been this like whole package experience of like, let me help you heal through this therapeutic writing process. But then let's
Beautiful.
also leverage that healing to create something really powerful that will be in service of the profession.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love it. What is your book called?
It's called Shit They Don't Tell You in Nursing School.
I love it. It's so true. I mean, like, well, nursing school's so hard, right? Like they set you up from the beginning of prepping till midnight, 2 a.m., and then being at the hospital 6:30, 7 a.m., going all day, spending that next day. I mean, we're prepped from the beginning to give it all. Um, but but that's not even the reality of how it actually is in the profession. So they're not really even doing us a service of teaching us how to take care of ourselves and to set up good emotional and physical boundaries and to do those things. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that change. Like I do know a couple of nursing instructors that were super burned out themselves and now are taking those lessons to their students. But yeah, I hope this not only is therapeutic for the current nurse, either the nurse that's struggling or just getting started, but also our poor little sweet baby nurses that are in school or coming out into this crazy post COVID world.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I talk a little bit about like the fantasy of what we think nursing is
Mhm.
going to be.
Mhm.
And just like to your point, most nurses are such caring people. Like
Mhm.
we have a heart of service. We were blessed with a gift
Mhm.
to care for others. And we were cursed by not having the skills that we need to understand where do I end and the
Yes.
giving begins. Like, at
Yes.
what point is it healthy? And at what point is it unhealthy, bordering on codependence, right? Like,
Yes.
at what
Yes.
point, and really, I think for most of us, we realize that point when we are so flippin' burned out that we become narcissistic and we're
Mhm.
like, I ain't giving nothing to nobody because I
Yeah.
got like my cup is
Nothing to
so
give.
so bone dry that it's like cracking and turning into
Mhm.
dust. So,
Mhm.
we tend to
Mhm.
like pull back and withdraw. And I went through that in my life. I described that season of my life like a once loved house plant now
Oh,
withering from total and complete
yeah.
neglect. I was like everything
Yeah.
that I had once cared for was like withering away because they were malnourished and I,
Yep.
I just had nothing to give. And
Yeah.
that's not okay.
No, it's not. So how did you, when you got to that point, how did you kind of start to your healing journey? How did you start to give to yourself and
Hmm.
start that?
Well, first and foremost, I had to hit what I consider my own rock bottom. I
Mm-hmm.
had to make a decision, not this. right?
Mm.
I share a very tough story that I worked with my writing coach. Shout out to Isabel Lerma. She's amazing. But it was a time in my career where I was separated in my marriage. We were working on
Mhm.
divorce. I was sharing my children. It was a really, really hard season, and it was a horrific day at work. And I came home from work and I just numbed. I took a bottle of bourbon in the shower, and I'm not a drinker. Like, I
Yeah.
don't identify with being a drinker, but I knew that bourbon would numb it. So I had a bottle of basil Hayden, like the whole bottle in the shower, and I'm bawling and I'm drinking until I just can't cry and can't feel. And then
Mm.
I crawled to bed like naked and wet because like I just wanted to be numb. And waking up from that and realizing like this is dangerous. It's hard on my heart. It's not the way I want to live my life. And I remember that moment where I was saying, I don't know what, but not this. And when you decide not this and you start seeking answers, it's just that next step and that next step and that next step. There's no like one perfect path for everybody.
Yeah.
But what I do know on this side of it is that there are a lot of skills that I've learned along the way of how to deal with emotions, how to
Mhm.
create proper boundaries, how to know that I matter, and how
Mhm.
to fill my own cup. And like Brene Brown says, truly learn to give from the overflow. That I often wonder if I had been given those skills as a nursing student, would my experience of this career be different? And it's just now that I know what I know, I just
Yeah.
feel like it's my responsibility to share what I know and to give other nurses the opportunity, because when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how can we do better for ourselves without expecting the profession of nursing to do it for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, first, thank you for sharing that really personal story. And I was welling up with tears and I was just feeling what you feel. I'm a very empathetic person and I could feel that. And just knowing, and I had my own rock bottom, which wasn't nearly as dramatic, but I still had that like, I'm not effing doing this anymore. I am killing myself, like with giving so much to everybody else. I can't do this anymore. And then that one next small step in front of you, because it's so overwhelming when you are in the depths. My dark days is what I call them. When I was in my dark days, like I didn't know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, who I would be, who I was. Like I had no idea. And it was so overwhelming, but it was like, okay, today I promised myself I was going to get out for a walk. I'm going to keep that promise to myself. Today I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. And just those small little steps over time help you drag yourself out of that horrible pit. And I think, I love it. I have a love hate relationship with that. It all happens for a reason saying, right? Because there are some pretty horrific things in this world. And to say that to somebody who is experiencing that or has, it's hard. But now, and I have a feeling you too, on the other side of that, I know completely why I had to go through all of that because I am meant to share my light and my gifts with others as you are. And I think if we didn't go through all of that, we wouldn't be here able to do that and to help others on their journey. And so I'm grateful for the gift of all of that struggle.
That's exactly right. In my coaching world, we have a saying that the obstacle is the way. And
Yeah.
so if any of you that are listening today are facing an obstacle that feels huge, that feels overwhelming, that feels insurmountable, just know, my friend, that you are on the way. Let me just like plant that little seed of hope. If the obstacle is the way and you have an obstacle, then my friend, you are on the way. And one tangible tool that we can give you right now today is I know that moment, like, not this. And so many times they're like, what's your dream? What's your vision? And I'm like, I don't even know. I just polished off an entire bottle of
Yeah.
alcohol and feel like ass for like a week
Yeah.
because my body is not like, I don't do that, right? Like, I don't know why I can't even dream in this state. Like, I was so
Mm-hmm.
just, it was like your dark days. It was so
Yeah.
dark that I couldn't even see a crack of light.
Yeah.
And in those moments, it's really, really easy for you to say, this is what I don't want.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the shower drinking alcohol. I don't want to feel like crap in my body. I don't want to be exhausted. I don't want to feel unfulfilled in my career. I don't want to feel like that. Let's watch another movie kind of mom. Like, that's not what I
Mm-hmm.
want. And from that, I don't want list, your dream is the opposite of that statement.
Oh,
I don't
yes.
want to be an unfulfilled, like I watch another movie mom. Well, the opposite of that is I want to be the let's go to the park mom, right? So if
Yeah.
you can't see the light, call out the dark. Start calling out the dark because the beauty is the light is it's like the yin and the yang. When you
Yes.
call out the dark side, the light side shows itself. So if you're feeling that
Powerful.
way and like I can't dream, I don't know where to go, I don't know what my vision is, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Call out the dark
Yeah.
and then just leverage it as your foundation because
Yeah.
that's where I started. Like, I don't know what, but not this. And let me
Yeah.
tell you the list, right?
Oh, beautiful. That is so amazing. And I think, our community of nurses that are starting to do this work with helping other nurses through their shit is growing. Beautiful. I mean, like I'm a nurse coach, you are a health and wellness coach, you are a nurse, and there's a whole community of us out there. Reach out to one of us. Like it doesn't mean you have to become a client. It doesn't mean you have to pay us anything. Like just make a connection. Let us help you get your journey started. We will direct you to a book. We will tell you to start journaling. We will help you find your way, but don't suffer in silence by yourself. Like we don't know you. We don't know your path, your specific thing, but we can help you figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if anything, we can give you the message that you're not alone. Because
Mm-hmm.
even though my story might not be your story,
Mm-hmm.
we still know what it feels like to be in the dark. And
Yes.
just that alone, like, oh, I'm really not alone in this, can be enough sometimes.
Yeah.
So again,
Yeah.
right, like you don't need to suffer in silence. And I say this jokingly, is you're not that special, right?
Yeah.
Like when I
Exactly.
realized that, like, oh, I'm really not that special. Like I'm not the
Yes.
only one looking at the bottom of a bottle because I don't have the skills,
Right.
right? And just knowing like I really am part of a community, it
Mm-hmm.
really helps. So just
It
know that
does.
you are part of a community. You are not
Yeah.
alone.
Oh, I just love this. Oh, it's so exciting. So when's your book coming out?
Cool girl.
You're
I
still
am
working
on
on
a
it?
push. I know this book baby has been like a 2 year book baby. And I told
Oh.
my book coach, I'm like, I want to have it finished by the end of May. And I'm like, the end of May is like breathing down my neck. And I'm like, I don't know. So
Oh,
I really, really would love to have it out like through editing, the book cover final, like all those little details wrapped up and ready for publish in the next 4 to 6 months. Like
oh my
be
gosh.
in 2023, this book is going to be here. Like the
Wow.
end.
Amazing. So exciting. So exciting.
Yeah.
Ah, all right. Anything else you would love to just share with anybody watching that might connect with them or any other additional stories, little nooks you have in there you want to share?
Oh my goodness. I would just say like if you are feeling like you don't matter and like this profession has chewed you up and spit you out and you don't even know where to start, just start with asking yourself, if I believed that I did matter, what could
Mm,
that look like?
mm,
Because sometimes like we're in a place where like I don't even like, yeah, I matter, that's nice, that's cute, like I'm worthy, whatever, right?
yeah.
Like our subconscious automatically is like, nope.
Yeah.
But when you ask yourself, if I believe that I did matter, if I believe that I was worthy, what could that look like? So it's like
Hmm.
embracing that just general curiosity.
Possibility.
It's
Yeah.
embracing that possibility. And it's not saying like I have to make a statement out of it, I am worthy. No, you don't. Because if
Yeah.
you don't believe it, it's just going to be some crap you say
Yep.
and it's not going to feel authentic. And I don't advocate for that.
Yeah.
However, when you ask yourself, if I could, if I believe that, what could that look like? and
Yeah.
just allow yourself to get curious about what that could look like, because then that question alone is like a little, it's a little crack of light in that
Mm-hmm.
dark place. And
Mm-hmm.
it does spark the potential of possibility. And I will also say, like,
Mm.
in my experience, I have seen nurses do what I call over educating their escape,
Oh
right? Where
yeah.
they're like, well, I'm going to go to a different department. I'm going to go get another degree. I'm going to go, get my doctorate, like whatever. Like, we keep over educating, thinking that the next level in our profession is the answer, but that's still looking for a solution outside of yourself.
Yeah.
So
Oh
don't
wow.
fall into that trap of wasting time and money trying to over educate your way back home to who you really are,
Mm.
because the answer is not out there. It's right here.
So true. So true. And I think in my case, it's so interesting because I am an overeducator. I've always been that way. I've always got the other cert, or because I was always trying to climb the ladder. And then I got like, I got to a pretty high up position in my organization. I was like, oh, what am I doing? I don't want this. So I had to crack out of that. But when I joined my nurse coach certification program, that was my initial like, oh, well, I'll just get this and see where it goes. But that was actually for me what catapulted my own transformation, because it's so much of like, get back into yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You need to heal yourself where you could even consider helping heal anybody else. And so it
There it
really
is.
forced me to do a lot of that work. And I'm a professional development junkie. Like, I have been for years. So it's like I was doing a lot of that work. But to have a coach, have somebody, walk you through this and to push you in really uncomfortable spaces, is pretty beautiful. And I'm very grateful that I took a big leap to do that for myself, because it did force my own transformation. And I don't say force in a negative way. It was just finally that thing that was like, oh, okay, all the stuff I've been avoiding for all of these years is now here.
Well,
But
and
it
I
is a
think
beautiful journey.
the key of what you said is have somebody in your corner, right?
Yes.
Like, it was when I
Yeah.
had somebody in my corner that I was able to go inside, that I was
Bingo.
able to like lock elbows, to have that courage to
Hmm.
embrace that knowledge, and really truly, like, I'm a huge advocate for
Hmm.
one-on-one coaching. I'm a huge advocate for a community, because
Hmm.
healing happens in community. It does not happen in isolation. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If we could heal in isolation, we would all be healthy. We would all be healed. It ain't working.
It's not working. It's not working. Yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
reach out. If it's not you or I, it's somebody else. There is people out there that will help you. I just even love, I had one nurse friend who always shares like really positive, like graphics. And every time I see one, I was like, oh, I like that one. I'm going to save that one. But it's just like a little light in the day. So reach out to somebody, because we're all struggling in one some form or fashion. And even though I'm way better now than I was even a year ago, I still have some really rough days. I just don't get sucked in and sucked down like I used to. And that's pretty awesome, actually.
That's beautiful. Well, expecting rough days, right? Because
Yeah.
they're part of the human experience. It's not like when we have this knowledge, like, we're just like healed and Hail Marys and rainbows and unicorns all day. Like, we still find obstacles, but we
Yes.
embrace them differently. They become
Yes.
on the way instead of in the way.
Ooh, I love that. Absolutely. Perfect. Well, I think that's probably a good spot to wrap up things. Thank you so, so, so much for your time. I cannot wait to read your book. I keep meaning to tell you, but I'd love to be a beta reader if you're still looking for some.
I am absolutely. Did you put
Yes.
yourself on the
No,
list?
but I will. I'll get back to
Oh,
you.
put yourself on the list. I would love to have your input. Yes, thank
Great.
you.
Yes, thank you.
Received. I received
Oh, I'm so
that.
excited. It's been so wonderful chatting with you today. And I know this is really going to connect with some people. And I think um, it'll reach those who need it, and at least plant a seed for those that are not quite ready for the message yet.
Awesome. Much love, you guys. You're worth it.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.